They're coming for me tonight, dads. As a result, I will be unable to go. Hours earlier, someone is said to have shouted such horrible things into a prison phone. This recording has completely paralyzed the music industry. King Harris has played the tough guy. We have witnessed him approach his well-known father and yell at Waffle House staff. In front of me are thousands of admirers. However, the voice in this recording leak is not that of the well-known young scion. It is the sound of a 21-year-old man who has finally come to terms with the fact that a jailblade cannot be stopped by his family's millions. The opulent SUVs and secured communities are gone tonight. At the prison where King Harris is being held, his last name is more of a target than a protection. We have personal experience with a frantic late-night tear-related call. I'm completely collapsing emotionally. But was this the ultimate betrayal from a needy son, or was this a real assassination plot? The streets are observing. I have to make a decision that might result in violence because there isn't much time left. Pay attention because everything you believe you know about the Harris family will alter in the next few minutes. You must comprehend the lethal powder keg that has been simmering within the Harris home for over a decade in order to fully appreciate the intensity of the fear in King Harris's voice. This is more than just a tale of a pampered celebrity child getting into mischief. In the stark light of day, a generational tragedy is unfolding. Clifford T. is at the heart of it all. I am Harris, the self-described Southern monarch musician. The T.I.M. is a man who turned the bleak soil of Bankhead, Atlanta, into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. In order to ensure that his children would never have to breathe the stagnant air of a prison cell, he battled life-threatening gun charges, survived federal detention, and buried his closest friends. The T.I.M. has left his children with a legacy of power, gated mansions, safety, music, and a top-notch education, among other things. The streets rejected him. However, the forbidden fruit is always the sweetest, as they say. King Harris, his eldest son, was preoccupied with falling in love with the ghost of his father's past while his father was busy trying to sanitize the Harris name for the corporate world. A silver spoon was not what King wanted. He desired music and the lead pipe. The penthouse was not what he wanted. The bando was what he desired. The world has been morbidly enthralled with King Harris's desperate attempts to shed his status as a privileged child for the last 3 years. The first were the little things, the angry rap songs, and the social media posturing. However, it soon turned into a PR disaster that even Hollywood's top music fixers couldn't manage. Everyone recalls the notorious Waffle House incident from 2022. King Music, who was only a teenager at the time, threatened to pistol whip a short-order chef over a side of pickles when he was inside a restaurant berating minimum wage employees and showing off piles of cash. The internet erupted during a period of extreme entitlement disguised as street violence. The brief commotion was fuel rather than a wake-up call. Music King leaned further into the mayhem. Many insiders described his public challenges to his father's street credentials as career suicide. The tension reached a violent boiling point at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in November 2023. King and T got into a physical brawl in a posh room packed of Atlanta's elite. I'm musical and little. King yelled that he wasn't raised with a silver spoon and that his parents were unpredictable when the cameras were filming on Instagram Live. The T is me. He ultimately had to put his own son in a headlock to avoid the public disgrace. He was clearly worn out and heartbroken. You are embarrassing yourself and your family. Boy, you can't do nothing with me, he informed him back then in words that now sound like a sinister prophecy. However, the turmoil went beyond the family. King recently made the decision to join T.I.M. The last straw was his protracted conflict with 50 Cent. King not only went too far by disparaging 50 Cent's late mother on social media, but he also took it down. No amount of security guards can shield you from the intense heat. According to those associated with the Grand Hustle camp, T.I.M. was getting close to his breaking point. Officially, the difficult love phase had started. The T is reportedly informed by his inner circle that King would eventually have to deal with the consequences of playing street games and music. And reaction followed those repercussions. There was more to King's most recent arrest than just a traffic stop or tardiness. It seemed deliberate. It seemed as if the universe, or maybe someone with a long memory, had finally chosen to pursue King's accumulated debt. The DeKalb County Jail's gated neighborhoods and private security teams disappeared as soon as the huge iron doors crashed shut. Music. King was just a prisoner with a well-known last name at a facility full of men with nothing to lose. The rap empire's prince has passed away. Music. History demonstrates that having a well-known last name is frequently a disadvantage rather than an advantage in the Georgia prison system. Some of the inmates in those prisons had been waiting for a chance to get even with Tay for 20 years. I am, indeed. His blood and flesh are now positioned in the middle of them. Irony and treachery abound in the context of this conflict. The T.I. saw his son use the same money to purchase a one-way ticket back in after working his entire life to bring his family off the streets. Music. This was never confined to a prison cell. This is about a parent seeing his greatest accomplishment fall apart. You'll discover that King Harris's eagerly anticipated bando has finally revealed its terrible true character when we examine the specifics of the leaked call. Music. The moment the news was released, Atlanta's perspective changed. Bond had been turned down by King Harris. A minor probation infraction or non-attendance is typically a turn-in and walk-out procedure for someone who receives financial help from the Harris family. By lunchtime, you're back in a Maybach after making the payment and signing the paperwork. But not right now. The judge allegedly ordered King to stay in detention until a formal hearing, citing new evidence and a history of reckless disrespect for the law. But the courtroom was not where the nightmare began. 2:14 a.m. The M. It began at the DeKalb County Jail's high-security section. 3 independent industry insiders have now confirmed the audio tape that was leaked, according to a high-level source inside the institution. A jailhouse communication tablet was used to record it. The background noise in this video is a disorganized symphony of distant, loud gunshots and hammering metal doors. However, a young man at the front can be heard breathing violently and shallowly after recognizing he is no longer the predator. You must pay attention to me, puppies. They know everything, and King's voice is a scratchy whisper that trembles with a dread we have never heard from him. I was informed by a gang member that he was in the bank with you in 2004. Pops, please contact the solicitors. They are stating, I won't be able to work the morning shift. You owe a debt that was never paid, and since you're out there, I'm the one paying it in here, he says. Dad, they're observing my cell. Let them know that I'll do whatever it takes to stay at home. I'll turn off the music if you leave me here. The young scion was dead for the first time in his life. There was no sign of the child who boasted about standing on business. This 21-year-old boy realized that, in a cage, $1 million is just paper if no one is coming to open the door after being stripped of his jewelry, fancy clothes, ego, and music. However, the narrative now takes a terrible turn, and people are calling for T online. I am the head. Something went wrong while everyone was waiting for the much-awaited announcement of a successful legal rescue. As soon as the footage was made public, rumors circulated among Grand Hustle's inner circle that I wasn't picking up the phone. Imagine having all the resources at your disposal, being the most powerful guy in Atlanta rap, and deciding to put your son's call on voicemail when he says his life is in danger. A screenshot of a text message purportedly sent by T was released. I send shockwaves over social media to a family associate. He wanted the bando. He said the gates were for cowards. The note states that there won't be any solicitors till the sun rises. Let him experience the sensation of the concrete tonight. He must acknowledge that the streets do not have a VIP area. The treachery was complete. There was a civil war on the internet. How could a father, particularly one Who was aware of the risks associated with the system? Appreciate T. I am, indeed. Does music abandon his flesh and blood in a lion's lair merely to make a point? Was it just music T, or was this terrible love? I am, indeed. He was willing to endanger his son's life because he was so tired of years of disrespect and 50-cent theatrics. However, the emotional betrayal turned into bodily pain within an hour. A blurry 10-second video footage was posted to an unidentified street news account during the height of the nasty love rumor. The video appears to have been taken from the jail's second-floor balcony using a cell phone that was smuggled. Three enormous prisoners are cornering a young man who appears to be King Harris in the low, flickering light of the common. Music for the space. The video does not feature any speech, but it does feature the sound of heavy footfall on concrete and a startling abrupt quiet. Music. King recoils and holds up his hands in a protective manner. His hands, which he used to mock minimum wage people, are trembling as he is shoved up against a chilly brick wall. As one of the prisoners reaches for his waist, the video cuts to black. Rumors of King Harris's death surfaced within minutes. He wasn't crying, though. With a cold, deliberate betrayal in his gaze, he turned to face the camera. When the unknown leaker added a caption beneath the photo, the narrative was irrevocably altered. He is aware that the operations did not provide him with their music. It was obvious what was conveyed. King now thought he had been set up by his father. A family dispute had been sparked by the identification dilemma. There was no suicide note in the farewell letter to Mum. Posts from King's fan accounts claimed that it was a proclamation of independence. According to reports, King and Tiny discussed King's potential betrayal of T. I am, indeed. The last important update appeared on the screen. Recently been released from prison. King Harris is no longer in the infirmary and is not in a cell, according to a well-known Atlanta attorney who has never worked for the Harris family. Give me a call right away if you know where the cargo vehicle went. The tense time. Neither a hospital nor a federal prison was the destination of the medical van that departed the jail on the outskirts of Atlanta. It was seen reaching a private airfield. The King's son and music had not been released. He has vanished. Everyone was left wondering who had the power to kidnap a well-known person's son in the middle of the night from a county jail. The reaction was far more horrifying than any rapper or gang. The game had just turned into a brawl since the clock had run out. In response to King Harris's purported jailhouse dread, the online hip-hop community responded in a number of ways. Its weight caused it to physically break. 6 hours following the release of the Save Me Pops recording, there was no more online discussion. The first group to offer a critical and effective analysis of the contradictory reports at the crime site was the Accountability Camp. The sentiment was icy and unforgiving on sites like X and Reddit. King Harris spent 3 years begging for the streets, read a post that went viral and garnered almost 100,000 likes in a single morning. As he sobs on a jailhouse phone after making fun of every gated enclave his father constructed, the streets are responding. This is a receipt rather than a tragedy. Let him stand on the business he claimed to be the owner of. However, prominent industry figures soon broke their silence. Many saw the mysterious comment from the well-known 50 Cent, who has been involved in a smoldering internet spat with the Harris family, as the ultimate industry checkmate. This time, he refrained from blatantly making fun of the king. Rather, he uploaded a high-quality picture of a chessboard with the king piece inverted. All that was written in the caption was "music check." Everyone could see the implication. The argument had progressed beyond Instagram captions to actual repercussions. According to industry sources, 50's post made a subtle reference to the claims that the gang hit inside the jail was orchestrated by individuals who were fed up with King's persistent disdain for the older generation in hip-hop. Rap culture was divided at the same time. Boosie Badass, T's longtime friend, shared an emotional Instagram live that garnered 500,000 views. Boosie yelled at the TV, and Bane's neck swelled. "You folks are crazy. I don't care who he yelled at or what he said about pickles. That's a kid. Atlanta will burn if Tip's blood is on the ground. Why is the Southern King unable to maintain his own seed? By holding Gwinnett and Dalb County authorities responsible for using King as a federal pawn to exert pressure on T. Boo's involvement changed the outcome for many. Details are of interest to me. The supporters, however, were far more split. Thousands of creators started dissecting the audio leak on TikTok. Others claimed that the voice's frequency did not correspond with King's typical tone, indicating a deepfake intended to damage the Harris legacy. However, Tiny Harris apparently unliked a comment that stated, "The division erupted into fear," after initially liking it. In order to break him, I'm letting him sit there. It's his father, not the federal government. The